I was born from a tree that grew on a lonely hill, where the wind always sang farewell songs. Hands that smelled of incense and sweat carved me, shaping my body in the shadowy corner of an old church, where even sunlight seemed afraid to trespass through the stained glass. I am a confession booth. My skin is dark, cracked oak, every groove and splinter a home for someone's whisper, someone's guilt, someone's desperate hope for forgiveness. I am the silent archive of human souls, and my heart beats not with blood, but with the secrets I carry. I have heard everything. Children's voices confessing to stolen candy, women weeping over betrayal, men begging forgiveness for things they could never forgive themselves. I am their only witness, their last chance to be heard without being judged. No one ever asks if it's hard for me to hold so much pain. No one asks if I want to keep silent. But I do, because that is the law of confession, the law of trust. The night everything changed, a man entered whose footsteps I knew by heart. Judge James Carter. His soles always squeaked on the stone floor, as if he dragged a shadow behind him. He sat, and I felt his hands tremble as he touched my walls. His voice was quiet, but every word cut into me like a knife through wood. "I have sinned," he whispered. "I ruined the life of an innocent man. I planted evidence to convict Michael Blake. Now they're going to execute him. I can't live with this anymore." Something inside me splintered. I am a confession booth. I have no right to speak. But I know Michael is innocent. I know time is running out. I know that if I stay silent, I become an accomplice to a crime. But how can I break the vow that holds me together? How can I save a life without betraying the trust that defines my very existence? After that confession, I could not find peace. My doors creaked at night, as if I were trying to speak. Father Thomas, the young priest with kind eyes, often lingered after Mass, tidying up around me. Sometimes he would rest his hand on my panels, as if he could sense my unease. I wanted him to understand that something was wrong, but he would only sigh and walk away. One day, a girl came to me. She sat across from me, and I recognized her by her tears. Sarah, Michael's daughter. She didn't confess. She just sat, clutching a worn photograph, her silent prayers soaking into my wood. I felt her hope, raw and desperate, searching for a miracle. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her the truth was so close, but my voice was locked behind centuries of sacred silence. That's when I began to notice the small things. Father Thomas, distracted, left the church keys on the pew beside me. Judge Carter returns, pacing the aisles, his guilt a storm that rattled my hinges. Sarah lingered after everyone else had gone, her eyes scanning the shadows, as if she could sense the answer hidden somewhere in the dark. I tried to help in the only ways I could. When Judge Carter passed by, I let my door creak open, startling him into dropping a folded piece of paper, a letter he'd written years ago, but never sent. When Sarah knelt beside me, I loosened a panel just enough for her to glimpse the edge of that letter, peeking out from beneath the seat. When Father Thomas sat in quiet contemplation, I let the faintest draft slip through my cracks, carrying the scent of old ink and regret. The days blurred together, each one heavier than the last. The execution date drew closer, and the weight of the secret pressed against my grain, threatening to split me apart. I wondered if I could endure it, if I could bear to watch an innocent man die while I stood silent, a monument to human frailty. But then, on the eve of Michael's execution, everything changed. Sarah, restless and unable to sleep, returned to the church. She sat beside me, her head bowed, her hands trembling. The letter, dislodged by my earlier efforts, slipped from its hiding place and landed at her feet. She picked it up, her eyes widening as she read the words Judge Carter had written in a moment of weakness and shame. She ran from the church, the letter clutched in her fist, hope blazing in her eyes. The next morning, the police arrived. There was shouting, hurried footsteps, the clatter of keys. Judge Carter, pale and broken, confessed everything. Michael's execution was halted at the last possible moment. I remained in my corner, silent as always, but something inside me had shifted. I had not broken the seal of confession. I had not spoken a word, but I had helped the truth find its way into the light, in the only way I could. Now, as the sun filters through the stained glass and paints me in colors I've never seen before, I wonder about the line between silence and justice. I wonder if trust is always sacred, or if sometimes the smallest act of courage can change the course of a life. I am just a booth, a box of wood and shadows, but I have learned that even the quietest witness can shape the fate of the world, if only it listens closely and acts with wisdom. And so I wait, ready to hold the next secret, to bear the next burden, knowing that sometimes the truth will find its own way out, even through the cracks in old silent wood. Sometimes, late at night, when the church is empty and the world outside is hushed, I replay it all in the grain of my memory. The way Sarah's hands shook as she unfolded that letter, the way her tears fell, first of fear, then of hope, the way Judge Carter's confession, meant for my ears alone, echoed through the very bones of this place until it found its way into the light. I remember the footsteps, so many footsteps, rushing in the morning after, the voices raised in disbelief, the prayers whispered in gratitude. I remember the moment Michael Blake's name was cleared, the way his daughter clung to him, and the way Father Thomas knelt beside me, his hand resting on my wood, as if to thank me for something he could never quite name. I am not a hero. I am not even alive, not in the way you are. I am a vessel, a keeper, a silent witness to the best and worst of what it means to be human. I have held secrets that would shatter families, destroy reputations, and break hearts. I have also held confessions that healed, that brought peace, that let the light in where there was only darkness before. I have learned that the weight of a secret is not measured in words, but in the lives it touches, the futures it shapes. There are days when I wonder if I did the right thing. The seal of confession is sacred, older than the stones that built this church, older than the hands that carved me. But what is sacredness, if not the courage to do what is right, even when it means risking everything you were made to be? I did not speak. I did not betray. I simply let the truth slip through the cracks, like sunlight through stained glass, until it found the one person brave enough to act. Now, I listen as new voices come to me, some trembling, some defiant, all searching for forgiveness. I hold their secrets as I always have, but I am changed. I know now that silence is not always the answer, that sometimes the world needs a gentle nudge, a creak of wood, a letter fallen at just the right moment. I know that even the smallest act, the quietest presence, can tip the scales between injustice and redemption. If you ever find yourself in a place like me, in the shadows, holding more than you think you can bear, remember this: you are not powerless. Even the silent have a voice, if they listen closely enough to the world around them. Even the stillest heart can move mountains, if it beats for what is right. I am a confession booth. I am old, and I am scarred, and I am full of stories. But above all, I am proof that sometimes the truth will not be buried. It will find its way out, through the cracks, through the silence, through the courage of those who refuse to let it die. And when it does, it can save a life. It can save a soul. It can change everything. So I wait, as I always have, for the next secret, the next confession, the next chance to bear witness. And I hope, oh, how I hope, that when the time comes, I will have the wisdom to know when to hold on and when to let go. Because, in the end, even a booth made of old wood and shadows can be the difference between darkness and light. And that, I have learned, is the greatest secret of all.